Welcome back to TVS Presents Sport Magazine on radio. I'm John Daly. This segment is brought to you by News.tv. This is a new citizen journalist site where you can become a newscaster with your own channel. All you do is go to nooz.tv. My next guest has a long history in television. He was the producer of the Tom Snyder Show. He has been an executive producer on numerous newscasts in Los Angeles and New York. He also helped launch the reality show Big Brother. I was fortunate enough to have him as my senior producer for Real TV. He is currently producing a new show called DEA All-Access. Michael Horowicz is a Dodger season ticket holder and a keen observer of what is happening in sports, especially baseball. Michael, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me. Although with that intro, you make it sound like I could not hold a job.
Yeah, you'll find one soon, I'm sure. Hey, as we're speaking, baseball is opening up. By the time people hear this interview, baseball will have 2 days under its belt. So what are you expecting?
Well, as I was thinking about preparing for this interview, we're taping, I hope it's okay to say, we're taping Thursday afternoon, July 23rd. It's about a half hour before ESPN is going to launch the Yankees versus the Nationals. And I went from not caring to thinking about how stupid this season is going to be. And now I just feel really, really sad and not excited about this. What am I expecting? I'm expecting it to go badly. I don't want to wake up one morning and find out, God forbid, that Clayton Kershaw came down with COVID-19. I just don't think this is going to end well. And sadly, because I was really hoping we were going to have fun and laughs in this interview, but in the last hour or so, and news just broke about a half an hour ago that there are going to be 16 teams in the playoffs. More than half of the teams are going to make the playoffs. And with all this strange new rules and the DH in the National League and a runner on second in the extra innings, I just don't feel as though that this is going to be considered by the fans to be a legitimate championship season. And I feel bad. If my Los Angeles Dodgers are fortunate enough to win the World Series, I believe that many fans will never take it seriously. And I see these players are working so hard. They're so passionate. They're taking their own risks by playing during a pandemic. And I feel bad for them. I feel bad for them if they win. Those are my thoughts at the moment.
Are you at all concerned that possibly if this pandemic got worse that they would close down the season?
I'm very concerned. You had a major player this morning on the Washington, the name escapes me, but Juan Soto, I think, on the Washington
Nationals.
Yes, on the Washington Nationals, he came down positive. What are we supposed to do? What would all you can do is hope and pray that the other players aren't going to come down with it in the next couple of days. God forbid. And what does that do to the Nationals, and what does that do to the legitimacy of Major League Baseball? None of this makes me feel good.
This is TVS Presents Sport Magazine on radio. I'm John Daly. We're talking to Michael Horowicz, TV news and sports producer. He's also a Dodger season ticket holder. His new show is called DEA All-Access. All right, so let's get, I want to talk about some other stuff with you. Vin Scully is in your profile photo on Facebook. Talk about what an incredible person he is.
He's incredible because he did it alone for many, many years. And you're a broadcaster, you can imagine how difficult it is to be in a broadcast booth for 9 innings, 3 hours at least, and talk alone. And no sidekick. He's the last of that breed. And nowadays you have broadcast executives who think, oh my God, that looks cheap. Oh my God, we need more than 2. We need a former ball player. We need a bigger booth. But Vinny, when he did this for 67 years, I think, 68, he spoke to me. It was the most intimate form of broadcasting I have ever experienced. It was him and me together. It gives me goosebumps just to think about it now, and that's why he was incredible. Forget the fact that he could tell story after story, and somewhere in the middle of those stories would be a baseball game. I mean, it was amazing. He would go, well, in those days we traveled by train, swinging a miss, 0-1. And we'd take the train and there was no air conditioning. And I sat next to Jackie Robinson, filed away right back in the booth, and he would integrate the two. In September, he would sometimes literally do two games at once. If there was another game going that was affecting the pennant race, he would literally be announcing two games at the same time. And it was fun. It was just so much fun. And so when you ask me why he was so great, those are just two examples.
You know, you were always a great coach to me when I first started out in my first national TV show. And I remember you telling me, do what Vin Scully does. Bring people in, talk to somebody. So you've always followed that, and I've always been appreciative of the fact, the information and the advice you gave me there. I mentioned you last week on the show. I had Gary Muledeer on, and he had a great relationship with Joe DiMaggio. I told him the great story you told me about Joe D after the San Francisco earthquake. Tell us that.
Oh, my God. Well, first of all, thanks for the compliment. You're a great broadcaster yourself. You didn't need much, if any, help from me, but I appreciate that. I had the day of the San Francisco earthquake, I was producing the Geraldo show, and we were in, I'm sorry to say, we were in Fort Collins, Colorado, right out of Denver, doing a show at a topless donut shop called Debbie Does Donuts. And we were about to start taping the show when we heard the news about the earthquake in San Francisco, and Geraldo said to a bunch of us, just go. I can do this. I can do this show without you. Go. Get your asses out of here. So he went, did the show with the topless donut waitresses, and I never even saw it. I didn't even know how it went. And we raced to the airport, and we actually made it to San Francisco that night. We were the last flight to land just before the airport was being closed because there were cracks in the runway. I remember checking into the Sheraton down at Fisherman's Wharf, and there were aftershocks. And I'm desperately trying to hook up with the camera crew that was driving north from L.A. So around 6:30 the next morning, I hook up with the camera crew that, God bless them, they had driven all night long. And we went to the Marina District of San Francisco, which we had heard was pretty hard hit. There were still some fires there. And then I heard that the mayor, Art Agnos, God, I still remember his name, the mayor was going to appear at a school later that morning in the Marina District. And in the schoolyard, they had set up tables where people would report to for help. And I said, all right, let's go there, and we can interview. There were long lines of people there. And there was one long line of people who were holding red tags, which means their home had been red tagged, meaning the home was rendered uninhabitable. And they had to go and check in, and they had to find out what the next step were, where they were going to stay that night, how their homes were going to get fixed. So I'm going down the line, and I'm just interviewing regular people whose homes were red tagged. I'm just trying to get some emotion, trying to get the viewers to feel what they were feeling. And the next guy down on the list is this tall, superhuman, absolutely handsome man with gray hair, and I was dumbstruck. It's Joe freaking DiMaggio, and he's waiting online with a red tag, and he's waiting online patiently with dozens of people in front of him. And I don't get easily impressed, but I was the fact that it was Joe DiMaggio, the fact that I had just fallen upon him on a line. I have never been so dumbstruck in my life, and I'm stuttering. Mr. DiMaggio, the mayor's over there. I can bring you over there. and you can skip the line, and you don't have to wait online. He goes, no, sir. I'll just wait my turn with everybody else who's got this red tag. And then he gave me a quick soundbite, and I just couldn't even go further. I couldn't even ask a follow-up question. I was dumbstruck. And that was the one and only time I had met Joe DiMaggio. It was that day in October of 1989.
Wow, great story. Hey, I got about 2.5 minutes left there. There's two things I want to hit you with. I want you to talk a little bit about Tom Snyder, because I can't believe he's been gone 13 years, and you posted the other day that you were so glad that he's not here with all the COVID stuff. What did you mean by that?
Because Tom Snyder from the Tomorrow Show and the Late Late Show and local news everywhere he was such a people person that, if we had a celebrity guest for the show, for example, and that guest would cancel out for various reasons, the staff and I would go through hoops trying to find a replacement. And Tom would say, no, just leave it be. I can talk to the people on the phones. And he loved Tom and phones. And we always thought if we did Tom and phones, that it would look like to our bosses that we weren't trying hard enough. And we always had that conflict. But Tom loved talking to people. He loved talking to strangers, the park. He took his dog every day up to the dog park in Laurel Canyon. He loved talking to people and interacting. And that's the one thing you can't do anymore. You can't go to the park and interact unless you're wearing a mask. And everything is so difficult, and he loved walking the aisles at Trader Joe's or Whole Foods, and can't do any of that. And that's what I meant. It's just it would not have gone well if he was still alive. Although I miss him terribly, I'd give anything for him to be alive. He would not be enjoying this at the moment.
Understandable. All right, give us the kind of the elevator pitch for your new show, DEA All-Access.
Well, to make a long story endless, I had done the previous TV show with the two guys from Narcos. Have you ever watched Narcos? On Netflix? So anyway, it's about the two DEA agents who brought down Pablo Escobar. It's a drama, and there were actors who played Steve Murphy and Javier Pena, the two guys who really did. Well, I hooked up with the two guys who were not the actors, who were the real Steve and Javier, and they have opened up the DEA for us, and we're in the process of planning and selling a show that would give people access to what these heroes are doing. And regardless of what you think about law enforcement, these guys are not law enforcement. They are the heroes who get the pills off the streets. And the DEA has a great story that needs to be told. I've been privileged because of my buddies to get kind of access, and that's what I'm working on now. But as you can imagine, my work is limited to Zoom calls in the dining room.
Wow. Well, we'll be looking for it. We'll be watching it. We've been talking to Michael Horowicz, a TV news and sports producer. He worked with me on Real TV, also the producer of the Tom Snyder Show back in the 80s and 90s, and he helped launch reality show Big Brother. He's also producing a new show called DEA All-Access. Michael, thank you so much. Great talking to you again, buddy. Hey, boxing fans, tune into the TBS Boxing Network, 70 years of TV boxing from 1950 to today for free. Ali, Frazier, Liston, Foreman, all on the TBS Boxing Network. Watch now at tbstvnetworks.com. When we come back, I got a little commentary on baseball for you and the answer to our sports trivia question.